This week on Indian Motorcycle Radio, I got a chance to talk to Lieutenant Colonel retired Eric Kramer, and he introduced me to the only nonprofit dedicated to providing long-term assistance to the families of U.S. Special Forces killed in combat or training since 9/11 across all military services. And as a fundraiser for this great organization, they got a customized Indian motorcycle valued at over $30,000, customized by Dan Tochi himself of TochiPerformance.com. There'll be links in the show notes on how you can win and support this great organization. All this and more coming up next.
Excuse me while I whip this out.
Hey, thank you for listening, downloading, and subscribing to Indian Motorcycle Radio. I'm your host, Reverend Kenn Blanchard. This weekend, I remembered 41 years ago, I became a U.S. Marine. And that whole military world is still a real part of my life. It changed me. How many vets do I have out here? If you're a veteran, let me know. Post it up on our Facebook page or send me an email to kenn.blanchard@gmail.com. That's Ken with 2 N's. Let me know where you served, what branch. This week, Lieutenant Colonel Eric Kramer retired, and I are going to talk about Special Ops Survivors. It's a pretty cool organization, and I think you want to be a part of it. I'm going to be a fan and support it for the rest of this year. You're going to hear a commercial for Special Ops Survivors on this show. I'm actually thinking about starting a new motorcycle group. What's your thoughts on groups and clubs? And while you're thinking about that, have you ever thought about the Green Beret, the special operations people that are in the Army? Any of those veterans out there? The first Special Forces unit was formed in 1952. Even though we've always had Special Forces, they just didn't have a title. Under the U.S. Army Psychological Warfare Division, the initial 10th Special Forces Group was led by Colonel Aaron Bank, who was actually involved in several sensitive operations during World War II, including an operation to capture or assassinate Adolf Hitler. Bank is often referred to as the father of Special Forces. It wasn't until 1954 that the Army adopted that Green Beret to distinguish themselves from the conventional, regular Army. People who serve in these special operational groups put themselves at great risk and leave their families behind when they pass away in service of their country. And sometimes folks kind of forget about them. So now we have a group, Special Ops Survivors, that's taking care of the long-term assistance to those families. I think I just met a really good dude, and I'll introduce you to Eric Kramer of Special Ops Survivors. All right, hope that build-up wasn't too much, but I do like this guy.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you having me, Ken.
Man, you contacted me about something really, really dear to my heart. Motorcycles, military service, and helping people. Tell me about Survivors of Special Operators, about your group.
All right. Well, Special Ops Survivors was formed right after September 11th by an active duty Navy SEAL, Nick Roca. And he saw a gap in helping the widows of special operations personnel across all services who were killed in combat or in line of duty, such as training. When there's a casualty in the military, there is a flood of resources that immediately goes to the family, and they're overwhelmed. As you can imagine, it's the worst possible event that can happen in someone's life, a loved one. So there's a flood of resources from both the government and nonprofits. But then after about 2 to 3 months, it sort of dries up and there's dead air. So we like to say we come in, the Monday after. We usually try to reach out at about the 6-month mark after there's a passing. And we have a pretty extensive network, so we don't do a cold introduction. We usually have a warm introduction, someone who knows the survivor, the widow, or the widower. And we reach out the 6-month mark. We've also found that sometimes it takes 2 or 3 times reaching out. So a lot of our survivors, they don't come on board with us until about the 2-year mark. And what we do is the biggest thing is we provide a community of fellow survivors. That is absolutely the biggest thing we do. So they know they're not alone. There's folks they can reach out to who've been down this path, recovery and resiliency. And our goal is to provide them that lifetime community of fellow survivors. And the biggest thing besides that is resiliency, help them through their grief journey and rebuild themselves, rebuild their lives. And so we have programs that are designed to do that. Our most popular is our education grants. So they're not like the GI Bill or some of the more traditional education opportunities out there, where it's just for a brick and mortar or bachelor's degree or associate's degree. We provide funds for everything from that to law school, to med school, to Pilates certification, personal training, emergency medical technician certification, you name it. So that's our most popular program. It picks up, it fills a gap where a lot of those other programs will not allow the non-traditional avenues of education. Number one. Number two, emergency funding. So the example I give is the hurricanes that hit Fort Bragg, Fayetteville, North Carolina several years ago. A lot of our survivors had significant damage. And we had some older survivors who were living on fixed income. We reached out to some local contractors who at cost helped us rebuild, their roofs and their decks with several. So emergency funding, that's number two. We also have child care, emergency child care assistance, counseling as well with certified counselors and doctors. One of our biggest and most successful or popular programs actually is it's called the Forget Me Not program. So what it is whenever there's a major anniversary in a survivor's life, whether it's a birthday, a hero's death anniversary, Valentine's Day, Christmas, we'll just send them a little token of appreciation, letting them they're not forgotten. Might be cookies, might be just a card, might be seeds. And that has proven to be the most popular program. When I first came on board, I was looking at our finances and I went, okay, where's the biggest bang for the buck? And I looked at this program and I had a resounding, from the survivors, do not cut this program, keep this program. It means so much to us. So there's that. And then the final program we have resiliency retreat once a year where we try to bring all the survivors together. And we have a mix of fun with the hard stuff. So this year is virtual in October. We deal with tough subjects like suicide. As you can imagine, there's a lot of depression within the community, and especially the special operations community. There's just been an epidemic of suicides. And so we help them, deal with that, bring in counselors, bring in experts, the signs to look for their kids or themselves or other special operators. So there's that. And then the final program that we're developing is regional support groups where there's a large community concentration of survivors, such as at Fort Bragg or San Diego with the SEALs, where we have peer counselors, peer training, where we train fellow survivors to help other survivors. So in the middle of the night, 2:00 in the morning, if they need help, there's someone local that can show up and help them. So that's who we are. That's who we help. We have a little over 300 survivors active. That we help. We touch them every month through emails, through virtual events. So we have a virtual event about every other month, but we touch them every single month. So it's definitely a community.
This is a family. This is taking care of people who have fallen, and you're going beyond. Man, that's outstanding. It all takes money though, and you guys are a small outfit. What are you doing now to try to raise some funds?
Yeah, so it's a very valid point. I'm retired military, not a salesman. So the toughest part of this job for me is asking folks for help financially. Since COVID hit, all of our in-person fundraising events were canceled, as you can imagine, and a lot of our major sponsors, they were hurting too. So what we're doing now, the biggest thing, we have a motorcycle sweepstakes. We're giving away an Indian FTR. motorcycle, customized by Dan Tochi, who's a very well-known Indian motorcycle customizer, valued at $30,000. Tickets right now are going for $25 a pop. So we had the kickoff at Sturgis, which was quite an event, August 6th in Sturgis, South Dakota. And the event runs until 24 December. The drawing will be 31 December, and we will ship that bike anywhere in the continental United States for free.
Nice. Yeah. So Dan Tochi of Tochi Performance, little shop out of Connecticut. That dude does a lot of really fancy exhaust stuff. And I'm going to put all the links so that you guys can participate and help this worthwhile event for special ops survivors. What made you latch on to Indian?
Well, obviously I personally like Indian motorcycles.
There you go. Good answer. Good answer.
Indian motorcycle. That was not pandering, by the way.
No, right.
But yeah, Indian motorcycles. When I've looked at bikes myself, Harley versus Indian.
Right.
Not to denigrate Harley, but it seems like Indian is more personal. It's I just like the brand. I like the bikes. They're very, very well made, as y'all know, aficionados. So that's why I latched on the Indian. And then one of our board members had a relationship or a friendship with the head of Polaris, and of course Polaris owns Indian, and they donated a bike to us about a year. It was before COVID hit, so it was fortuitous. We were fortunate that it happened then. Yeah. So that's what latched on to Indian. And we've had to keep kicking the can down the road for the sweepstakes because we had to kick it off at Sturgis. And of course, with COVID, we had to be careful. So that's why Indian.
All right. So specialopssurvivors.org. You will find the links to that, and at specialopssurvivors.org/motorcycles. There are sweepstakes. You'll be a link for that as well. How can folks contact you if they want to get more information or do anything to help out specialopssurvivors.org?
Well, Ken, as you mentioned, our website, specialopssurvivors.org. And then also I'll give out my work email. I have no problem with that. Eric, ERIK, at specialopssurvivors.org. Keep in mind, SPECIALOPSSURVIVORS.org. So Eric at specialopssurvivors.org. I have no problem with anybody contacting me personally. This is I see what I'm doing now as a continuation of my service. I was in for 26 years in special forces and then continued service. And, I was CEO of a tech startup, and I realized that I wanted to do more. I wanted to give back. And this opportunity fell in my lap. Of course, I'm sure God had a hand in that. And so I jumped on it. And again, it's a continuation of my service. A lot of the people, the survivors that I'm helping, I knew their husbands personally. So it's very, very personal. So how to help, reach out to me directly or go directly to our website,
which is specialopssurvivors.org. But I remember when I was doing facilitations, I always said, if you say something 5 times, it sticks in people's heads. It's a foot stomp. It's a commercial. I want to make sure that the Colonel gets you guys' attention. Brother Kramer, thank you, man, for being on the show. Anything that I can share that I didn't ask that would be good for the order?
I would just say that keep in mind, we're a shoestring operation. We only have one full-time employee. So just know that your money goes to the programs. I can guarantee it. Every penny that goes out, I put it this way: when I buy a book of stamps, I send it to our treasurer, that bill. Every penny that goes out is accounted for. That's a personal promise to me. It's not going to go to overhead. We don't have brick and mortar, real estate, or anything. Everything is dedicated to our programs.
You heard it first here. Take care of your own, y'all. Remember the fallen and their families. Commitment, honor, sacrifice. Lieutenant Colonel Eric Kramer, thank you for being a part of Indian Motorcycle Radio.
Thank you, Ken.
All All right, just in case you didn't get that, specialopssurvivors.org/motorcycle-sweepstakes is the link where you can see this bike. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. And even if you're not interested in becoming part of this sweepstakes, please consider supporting specialopssurvivors.org. Thank you. All right, this week I put about 1,000. Well, I finally got to 1,000 miles on the Challenger, and I'm real happy. I rode all around the place on Saturday. I had a really good day. The weather was perfect. I got a chance to ride to IHOP, got some pancakes, rode to a couple of pawn shops, looked at some guitars and guitar amps, looking for a deal, Maybe somebody would have hawked something that was really valuable, but no such luck. Then I rode up to the hospital and met the wife, and she was doing better than usual. She actually, I said I loved her, and she puckered up and gave me an air kiss, and I lost it, man. I was all happy. I jumped over there and kissed her on the lips, and she kissed me back, and I was done. I was like, yes, she's coming back. She's only been in the hospital a month now, this go around, and they're talking about having to move her back to Johns Hopkins Medical Center, the specialist again, to see what's wrong. She had a brain tumor removed, and back in May, and hasn't been right since. So it's been a tough few months, and the wind therapy has been doing its job, because I felt so good on Saturday riding after I got my kiss from my girlfriend of 30 years. And then I rode to the church, did a drive-by, took a picture, and I thought, you know what? Way back in the day, I had a motorcycle club called the Forgiven Christian Riders. And it was back in that, we had Yahoo groups. Remember that? I went and started this thing up and had a patch made, and my job was to try to use it as an evangelical tool to get all the riders that belong to local churches together in case that church didn't have a motorcycle group. And the thing took off in South Africa, started getting chapters, and a guy out of North Carolina picked it up, and boom, we had a chapter of the Forgiven Christian Riders internationally. Had them North Carolina, South Africa, and I still was riding by myself as the president and the founder. It was crazy. But I think I'm going to redo this thing, and let me know what you think about starting a new group versus just joining one that's already existing, and your success or failures or problems that you've had with group rides or clubs. I would like to get some feedback. That's my question for next week. I'm not sure how long it'll take you to answer me, but if you can, hit me back up at Kenn, kenn.blanchard@gmail.com, or answer me on the Facebook page for Indian Motorcycle Radio that we have about almost 400 people now, which is kind of cool. Now, I almost rode to Pennsylvania. I was about to do a 3-hour ride this weekend, but I got lazy. And then I thought I might need some more space. So I also know what your thoughts on touring packages. Whether the one from Vic Bagger, the real thin one, is just too small, even though it looks cool, or should I just get one from Indian? Now, what's funny is that when you ask a question on a podcast, you can't answer me, and maybe by the time you think about it, you thought somebody else would have answered, but that's what doesn't happen, actually. I'll ask this question, and maybe one person 6 months from now will answer me. So I don't even know why I'm still asking these questions, but I do want your feedback just in case you're one of those folks who are actually paying attention, remember, and can send me a note back. I'd appreciate it. I don't care if I get 20 replies. And if I do, I will give you a shout out on next week's show. So let's call this a test and see if anybody's paying any attention. Because I asked a couple of questions. One about the clubs, one about touring packs, and what else did I ask you about? Oh, yeah, your thoughts on clubs and groups. The fall weather is here. I had to go back home and get a jacket because it was doggone cold until about 11 o'clock. Then it warmed back up again. So thank goodness I bought the right gear this time. Well, that's it for this week. If you like the show, if you like what I'm doing, please consider supporting me by going to buymeacoffee.com/motorcycles. All the links, especially for specialopssurvivors.org, will be in the show notes. Specialopssurvivors.org FT.com/motorcycle-sweepstakes so you can win at FTR. I want somebody from this community to do that. That'll just be too cool for school.
Work here is done. I'm needed elsewhere now. I'm needed wherever outlaws rule the West, wherever innocent women and children are afraid to walk the streets, wherever a man cannot live in simple dignity, and wherever a people cry out for justice. All right, you caught me. Speak the plain truth. It's getting pretty damn dull around here.
All right, my friends, that's it for this week. I want to thank you for listening, downloading, and subscribing to your favorite righteous podcast, Indian Motorcycle Radio. Now may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon you. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the hollow of his hand. Kickstands up. Let's ride.